Tired of bloating, fatigue and sluggish digestion? Meet your gut's new best friend, NutriHealth 365's microbiome supplement. Restore balance, boost immunity, and feel amazing from the inside out. Smart delayed release capsules, real results. Gut health just got personal.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's episode of Trending. Today, the Russians are coming. The Mossad have foiled a Hamas terror plot in Europe, and Elon Musk says AI is great, mate. It's going to cure poverty. Welcome to this morning's episode of Trending, brought to you in association, as always, with NutriHealth 365. The link is in the description below. Right, it's Thursday. You frightened? Hope you're frightened. Thursday's a good day to be frightened because the Russians are coming. I know what you're thinking. They've been coming for the best part of a decade, but it's different this time. They're lurking. Russia's Yantar spy ship. Why is it lurking near UK waters? I don't know. Why is it lurking? It sounds dodgy, though. Don't like lurking. No one lurks in a good way, do they? There's no positive way that you can lurk. What are the risks that it poses? I don't know. Let's find out. A Russian spy ship is lurking near British waters where it's directed lasers. I'm getting all sci-fi now. It's directed lasers at UK military pilots who are surveilling its activities, the Defence Secretary has said. Royal Navy frigates and RAF P8 planes, I don't know what that means. I'm not up on my military stuff. P8 planes have been deployed to monitor the vessel, which is designed for gathering intelligence. It best not be going to Westminster then, because it's going to be trying for a while. When the Russians directed the lasers at the planes, Defence Secretary John Healey said Britain's ready. Yeah, it's ready. It's ready. It must be ready because John said it. It's ready to respond with military options. That's disconcertingly vague, John. Drawn up if the ship heads south. At the moment, it's just off the coast of northern Scotland. So if it comes south, John's got options. In a warning to Russian President Vladimir Putin, I bet he's terrified. Absolutely terrified. Let's have it right. If Putin wanted to invade the United Kingdom, he wouldn't send a spy vessel off the north coast of Scotland. He'd pop the Red Army in a dinghy in Calais, right? And within 48 hours, they'd probably have an operational hub in a Holiday Inn with brand new mobile phones. That's what I'd do if I was Putin. If I wanted to invade Britain, I'd put all my Red Army soldiers in an Alessi tracksuit, give them a mobile phone, set them up an Instagram account, whack him in a dinghy. Job's a good one. Right, here we go. Hang on. He told Westminster, John's continued. He told a Westminster press conference, my message to Russia and to Putin, go on, John, what is it? Is that we see you. We see you. We know what you're doing. And if the Yantar travels south this week, we're ready. Okay, you're not. Are you? You, and along with your predecessors in the Conservative Party, and to be fair, their predecessors in the Labour Party, have made our country an open day free-for-all, like a fete. A free village fair. That's what our country is at the moment, with a border like a cat flap. So you can stand there in your expensive suit, giving the posh rhetoric with the two British double-cross flags behind you. That's fine, but it doesn't count for anything because we know it's nonsense. But what is the Yantar vessel and what's it doing near the British territory? Good question. Is it doing a spot of fishing? We'll see. To be fair, Russia's probably got just as much right to fish in the North Sea as the British have these days. It's subjective, according to the Council on Geostrategy, a non-profit think tank based in Westminster, the British government then. It says it is to operate submarines that can gather intelligence, like I say, don't be going to Westminster then, on the deep sea, allowing possible sabotage of underwater cables. Right. Okay. Do you know who else can go underwater and sabotage stuff? The US, NATO, Britain, Sweden, Germany, whoever else was involved in blowing up Nord Stream. It weren't the Russians though, was it? Mate, that's molten lava, that. I don't get it right, ever, ladies and gentlemen. I'm normally sat here with a lukewarm coffee. Now I've just burnt my lip. Oh, well, never mind. That was the Russians, that. Now, what this is the predictive programming. We spoke about it before in various guises, whether it be terrorism or pandemics or whatever. They chuck stuff out there to prepare you mentally for it. Now, Russia has been demonized by the UK government, multiple UK governments, and the UK media for years, for decades. Everything was Russia's fault. You had that whole nonsensical Skripal poisoning in Salisbury, which had more holes in it than a Swiss cheese. Any cyber attack that takes down a UK company, whether it be Marks and Spencer's recently and all that, it's always the Russians. Everything's the Russians. I'm surprised they didn't tell us that COVID came from a Russian wet market. But then, China's on the radar for demonization as well. So they blame everything on Russia, including the migrant crisis recently. You would have heard that, ladies and gentlemen. That was a laugh out loud moment, wasn't it? The aforementioned cat flap that is our border was known as the Russians, the Russian gangs. The only thing I could believe, actually, right? So say I'm Russian, I'm Vladimir Putin. I know the likeness is uncanny, and I want to destroy Britain. I don't need to have gangs bringing people into the country. I don't need to do that, because I would just look at Britain. I'd go, right. So wow, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, geez, David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Sunak, Starmer. I'll leave them to it. They're destroying the country anyway. They don't need me to get involved. I can go back to playing on the Xbox, because they are doing a grand job at destroying Britain anyway. There's no point. Putin's a busy man. He don't need to waste his time doing that. Now, if you're planning something, which they clearly are, now we spoke many times about false flag season, because it's a great way to bring in emergency legislation and everything else, create fear. Now, there's multiple ways you can do that. Of course, we've spoke about, pandemics. Oh, we're all going to die. Climate change. Oh, we're all going to die. War is a great one. Again, we're all going to die. And terrorism is great, because I can't trust anyone here, because I think they want me to die. So we know that's coming, and we've seen various, incidents that point towards that. But you need to predictively program it. You need it to be in people's heads. So they've done that with Russia for a very long time. Now, if they came out and said, look, there's been a massive cyber attack, there's been an underwater cable attack, it's brought down all this infrastructure in the United Kingdom, it's brought the country to our knees, it's the Tongans. You'd go, what? Do they play rugby or something? Whereas if you say it's the Russians, bearing in mind you've had well over a decade of demonization of the Russians incessantly, it's always their fault, then, poisonings and all this sort of stuff, executions, assassinations, obviously with Litvinenko and all that kind of stuff. You've even have people coming in and buying up football clubs like Abramovich with connections to Putin, and then having to give it up and all this sort of stuff. So this is constant in the psyche of the British people. So you can carry out an act and you can blame it on the Russians, and the people won't go, the Russians, why would they do that? They go, oh yeah, I've heard about them. And what that does, it creates a confirmation bias in people's minds, which is what they want. So that people will just blindly accept it because they've heard so much about it. Now, people watching this will be very well aware that Hollywood and places like that, the film industry, is used brilliantly for that. You'll have a period of time where basically the same film is made about 40 times. And it's like, and you look at it and you go, oh, that's what they're pushing. That's is it climate change? Is it an alien invasion? Is it, what's that, Independence Day? Yeah, cool. It's happening. And they do it with the Russians because they need a bogeyman. And actually, as far back as June this year, the UK government was saying that Russia were at war with the UK. Are they? I ain't seen it. I mean, I've heard it in the media, but I haven't seen it. Where are they? So just because they stand there in an expensive suit and tell you something doesn't make it fact. But so many people will blindly accept it and go, oh yeah, we've been at war with Russia. Have we? Okay, mate. It's ridiculous. But it creates a bogeyman. And that's what they want, because if you need the population frightened, they need someone to be frightened of. Now, we've spoken before about the situation in Syria, where you've got a guy who's a head-chopping terrorist, be frightened of him, but we can kind of use him now. So we get rid of Assad and we bring in a guy that's not a head chopper anymore. He's shaved his beard and he's bought an expensive suit. So now he's welcome to the White House. He's not a terrorist anymore. I know we had a £200 million bounty out for him, but don't worry about it. He's sound now. Use that $200 million on a beard trimmer. He's not a terrorist anymore. And so at the moment, he's allowing Israel to do what they want in terms of using his airspace and all that kind of stuff. Israel is encroaching into Syria. So he's providing them what they want. But they will turn around and make him a terrorist again, 100%. Because then he's the bogeyman that's the excuse to go in and do whatever else you wanted to do in the first place. Russia is the same. Create that bogeyman, create that fear so that people will accept... they'll accept your version of reality for a start. So if something happens, they'll go, yeah, it probably is them. But also what they'll do is, if you've got that fear, it will create an acceptance for what you choose to bring in as a response to that fear. So whether that be increased surveillance, whether that be going to war, a preemptive strike or whatever, they've already spoke about that, about the fact that Britain could fire a warning shot at this vessel. Well, why would be my first question. But what if that warning shot goes wrong and hits the vessel? Then what? Then where are we? We as British citizens are being, goose-stepped towards an escalation with Russia, which is what they've been pushing for a long time, when no one here wants that. Do you want to go to war with Russia? You up for it? I'm not really up for it. I don't think any of the population are up for it. I don't think any soldiers that are, in the UK military are up for going to war with Russia. Yet prats in suits that will never, ever see a battlefield and have never seen a battlefield, maybe Call of Duty or something with their grandkids, are making decisions. And as the Russians themselves have said, Britain is using quite inflammatory language towards the Russians, and they are. They've been saying more. We as a country, and I don't mean me and you, because we haven't been saying anything, the British government has been far more aggressive in their rhetoric towards Russia than Russia has been towards us. In fact, the Russian embassy had to come out and just say, look, we ain't trying to go to war with you. We don't want to go to war with you. Why would they? What do we offer them? Let's have it right. I mean, the Peak District's beautiful, but we ain't got much to offer the Russians at the minute. The country's on its knees, intentionally, caused by the very people that are now trying to push us towards a war with Russia. It's mad. So, of course, you can use it to get consent for war, because, yes, do it because we're frightened. You can use it to bring in emergency legislation, which they want to anyway, which can allow them to delete freedoms, which they always want to do. And bring in some form of, it always goes back to digital ID, doesn't it? And that will come into the increased surveillance, because we don't know who anyone is. They could be Russians. Now, in terms of a terrorist attack, obviously, when you hear terrorist attack, you think, gunman gone mad, blown up a shopping centre, blown up a football stadium, attacked people. But obviously a terrorist attack can also be done in the form of a cyber attack, especially where everything's digital now. Everything is. The days of working on the land yourself and growing your own food and going out and, chopping up some logs and putting them on the fire to heat your house, all those days are overwhelmingly gone. Everything's been, people using cash. People have stopped using cash. I haven't, but lots of people have. And so everything is suddenly digital. Your wealth is on a computer screen. Oh, yeah, I've got that. Oh, computer says there's nothing there. Yeah, it's been hacked, mate. Oh, well, I've lost everything then. So you can literally destroy and pull down, which is what I think they want to do. In fact, I'd bet the disappearing money, that's what they want to do. So you've created the predictive programming in terms of it being the Russians or it being the Chinese or whatever, which will then, again, if they did that, that would get more consent from the population to go to war because, hang on, they've ruined us. Right, send the boys in. So that's one way of doing it. Now, I know what you're thinking, which is, well, if they want everything to be digital, why would they pull it down? They would rely on these underwater cables just as much as me and you. Well, I would suggest they don't rely on underwater cables whatsoever. I would suggest that the government, the permanent government, and the establishment in general would be using a completely different infrastructure to a load of cables on the seabed of the North Sea and the Atlantic. I would absolutely suggest that. And I think maybe that could be part of it. Maybe they want everything, 5G, 6G, 7G, Starlink, low orbit satellites, bathing the entire planet in radiation. That's what they want. And so the destruction of underwater sea cables would be a fantastic way to garner support for that. Look, we used to put it under the sea, but that's going, wait, mate, we've been doing that for 100 years. That is clearly not going to fly because we are susceptible to attack by the Russians or the Chinese or the Iranians or whoever the bogeyman is this week. And so therefore we need to do it differently. We need to go and rely on Elon Musk. Give Elon Musk another contract for a few billion quid. Now, saying this, I'm not saying that Putin's a good guy. I know a lot of people think that he is. He's clearly more intelligent than people like Keir Starmer and David Lammy and the rest, but that's not hard, is it? To be honest. So that's not really a compliment towards Vladimir Putin. Let's have it right. Wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, whoever you're in the room with, whoever that person is, whether it's a toddler, whether it's a Yorkshire Terrier, it's more intelligent than Sir Keir Starmer. Now, Putin has brought in digital ID, or is bringing in digital ID, in Russia. They locked down during COVID. They jabbed the population. Yes, they created their own jab, the Sputnik jab, but they still jabbed their own population. He's World Economic Forum. I mean, they've taken that off the website, but Klaus Schwab openly admitted that Vladimir Putin was one of his young global leaders. So this isn't, someone who I'm saying is a great guy. What I'm saying is they all work for the same team, but to get to the end that they want, you need a bogeyman to be able to get certain things through the door. Putin is clearly playing the role of that bogeyman at the moment, certainly in the UK media and with the UK government. I think we need to be aware of that every time we see, because I'll guarantee tomorrow you'll pick up the paper, the day after, maybe next week, you'll pick up and you'll find another story that demonized the Russians for something. And so you have to ask yourself, really? Have they got nothing better to do? I thought they were fighting a war with Ukraine at the minute, but they've got nothing better to do than pick on Little Britain. Ridiculous. Now, that's all for the social media section of Trending. You can carry on watching the rest of the episode for free on Iconic. Just click the link in the description below. The next story is same vibe, to be fair, because as we speak about regularly, everything is connected. And hopefully I'll see you over on iconic.com in a second.